Hosting the proceedings here at the NALS Conference 2016 in London is industry commentator Kate Faulkner. And Kate, what an amazing time and timing-wise to have the conference because of the news in the autumn statement last week.
Absolutely. I think this is lots of not very happy faces this morning, but I'm hoping that we'll send everybody home with a little bit more optimism and perhaps some better understanding of exactly what's happening, and a reality check that I'm afraid it is going to happen. And for those letting agents that think there's still a discussion to be had, there clearly isn't.
Because I think, there's a lot of very small agents here today. They work in isolation. They hear this news. They must be very fearful. It's very good for them to come to an event such as this and get the bigger picture.
Well, it absolutely is. As I was saying, in my piece that I did, this is not just a threat to letting agents, this is a threat to the whole business community, that a cabinet has decided to change the finances of the lettings industry pretty much without talking to them or understanding the implications of what they've done. So they might be starting with lettings, but what are they going to move on to next? And almost do a giveaway, but give it away on behalf of the industry as opposed to the government.
And they've been hearing today at the conference about how they can combat this threat and still thrive, haven't they? So very good inputs here today.
Absolutely, and I think the key thing is that there are plenty of landlords out there. The PRS is at a big enough stage, it's a big enough market now. What we need to do, and what the government needs to help the good guys that we've had at the NALS conference here today with, is getting rid of the 10, 20, 30, 40% of agents that do not take their job as seriously as they should. If they can do that, the government gets what they want, which is good letting agents. Good letting agents look after good landlords and make sure they do their job properly, and then tenants are looked after. At the moment, you've just got a ton of rules and regulations implemented month after month pretty much. The good guys bust a gut to do all of the work. They make less money. The bad guys carry on as they do normally, and then everybody's still complaining that the tenants aren't better off. Well, it takes a little bit more than just the good guys to do the work. And the thing that I was horrified at today as well was, tenants are expecting not to pay any rent now, or not to pay any fees now. And that's horrific. That is the government that's caused that problem. They need to take a bit of responsibility to sort that out.
Well, they certainly do. And I think you touched on a very interesting point, was that the whole dynamic of the relationship between letting agent and tenant has changed now as well, because the government has very firmly said that the landlord is the client of the agent. Now, where does that leave tenants when they want information or they've got questions? They're actually not a client of the letting agent, government has said.
Yeah, I am hugely sad about this, because the good letting agents work as hard to look after their tenants as they do the landlords. And those fees, the way I've described them before in the past, is that if you buy a property, you have a legal representative and you have a surveyor go and check its condition. Effectively, the fees you pay to a letting agent currently as a tenant, they do that on your behalf, and you are then protected by laws for them to do that. Well, how much are they going to be able to afford to help tenants? And that's the point. If you wipe off turnover from the good agents, that means they can't help the tenants as much. You can't just expect letting agents to take huge increase in costs, not enforce any of the rules and regulations, so they're not gaining any business from doing all the right things. In fact, the opposite, they lose it, so they're punished almost by the market, and then expect that they can then do everything for the tenant that they do currently, because it ain't going to happen. But they didn't ask, so they don't know. And now they will have to deal with the fallout.
Indeed. I think the other thing that I really liked about your presentation, you're always a positive person, Kate. You always see the sort of silver lining in the dark cloud, and you highlighted some very positive things for the private rented sector in your presentation. And I think it's really important that we as a community also focus on the positive and not be dragged down by all these negative and this sort of attacks and interference on our sector.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing I love about property is really why I also love business. So I was business first, property second, really, is that there's always a way. So what I love is it's a problem to fix. the government's given the industry a problem. Do you know what? Between us, we'll find a way to fix it. And hopefully they will help us. But if they don't help us, we'll fix it for the few as opposed for the whole sector, and they'll end up 2 years' time. My fear is if without government help and support given back to the good guys in the industry, do you know what? In 2 years' time, we'll be saying exactly the same stories, reading exactly the same stories. The PRS will be accused of exactly the same things because nobody bothered to enforce the rules that they've come out with.
Indeed. So just to finish, Kate, the agents coming here today, do you think in terms of the lineup of speakers and the topics that NALS has covered, do you think they're sort of bang on the nail, on the button for what lettings agents need to know?
It's not just that they're exactly what letting agents need to know, it's the quality.
Yes.
You heard Daniel, yourselves this morning, and myself talking about how you reach landlords. Mm-hmm. For these guys to survive the pummeling that they're getting at the moment, they need to get better at securing landlords. Hopefully they've had lots of ideas to go away with today where they can do it where their competition can't.
Yes.
And some of it is actually giving these guys the confidence and reminding them why they're so good at what they do, because when somebody's thumping you every 5 minutes, it's easy to forget. So I think that side. Now on the policy side, what a wonderful marketing piece to say, I was with DCLG today, I was with the Home Office today, the rules are changing for right to rent tomorrow. From the horse's mouth, here you go, here's what the information is, here's what you need, and you heard it here kind of first. So I think that policy side and understanding it and hearing it right from the government and the people who are implementing it themselves, as opposed to third or fourth hand, and then the quality of information about how to reach landlords. That's their job, that's how they're going to grow and survive. The combination of those two is massively powerful. And the agents that we need to get rid of, and the ones that are probably charging the high fees in the first place, they're not here today, and they're not going to learn this stuff. And I expect if things go well, they'll crash and burn, but only if the government provides some money for enforcement.
Indeed, I agree 100%. I think just to finish, I think NALS has shown tremendous leadership in the Fair Fees Forum. They anticipated this problem. They've put together a community group where very much agendas have been put to one side, created more of a coalition approach to make representation to government. What are your views on what NALS has tried to do with the Fair Fees Forum?
I've got a huge respect for Isabel and the NALS team because they do work really hard. What I like about them is they care as much about the tenant as they do about the landlord, as they do about their letting agent members. And it's that broad thinking, and it's the ability to understand we have to work together. Yeah. This them and us that others like to create is wrong and gives the wrong impression of the market. Whereas Isabel and the team and NALS concentrate on, look, if we work together, we'll deliver a better PRS. And that's what they're doing. That's what the Fair Fees Forum is all about, and good for them for taking the initiative.
And indeed what today's event is all about. So thank you so much for joining me, Kate. You're such a wonderful contributor to our sector. And, I took a lot away from your presentation, which I'm going to think about and put into practice. So thanks very much for everything that you do to make the PRS a better place.
Thanks very much.